Before I start, if you're listening to this and you like real stories told without filters, make sure you subscribe. It helps more than you know, and I've got a lot to tell. My name is Daniel, I'm 51, and I spent most of my adult life believing loyalty was something you lived, not something you negotiated. My wife, Claire, used to tell me the same thing. She said trust was the only thing that made a marriage feel like home. The funny part is that she stopped coming home long before I realized it. The office party was supposed to be simple. Her firm did a holiday event every December. And for the past 5 years, I only showed up to drive her back because she hated dealing with people in the parking lot after a couple glasses of wine. This year, she told me she might need help with some boxes for the raffle. So naturally, I said I'd swing by. She didn't argue, didn't smile, just nodded like she was agreeing to a meeting agenda. Something about that hit me wrong. When I walked in, music was thumping, lights were low, and everyone looked looser than what I'd call professional for a corporate event. I didn't see her at first. I saw the CEO, the marketing people, a bunch of interns carrying tiny plates with food that looked more decorative than edible. And then I saw Claire. She wasn't looking for me. She wasn't even glancing toward the entrance like she usually did. She was standing near the bar, laughing at something her boss whispered to her. Laughing in a way I hadn't heard in months. Head tilted, hand brushing her hair back, shoulders loose. I walked toward her. Not fast, just steady. And that's when I saw him place his hand on her waist. Not briefly, slowly, familiar. Her back arched and she didn't push him away. She didn't even stiffen. She just smiled. A real smile, the kind I hadn't earned in a long time. When I reached them, she startled like I jumped out from behind a door. "Oh, hey," she said, clearing her throat. "Everyone, this is my friend. He's helping with boxes. My friend." She didn't even give my name. I shook the boss's hand. He didn't look embarrassed. If anything, he smirked like he and I were in on some joke I'd missed. I stood there while they talked, while he touched her waist again, while she shrugged him off playfully like it was just harmless fun. I felt something in me go quiet. Not angry, not heartbroken, just silent. The kind of silence that happens when your brain stops trying to justify anything. I told her I'd be in the lobby when she was ready to go. She didn't argue. She didn't follow me either. I stepped out to get a breath, and that's when HR found me, Maya. We'd met once. She always struck me as the kind of person who kept mental records of everything. "Daniel," she said, her voice low, "do you have a second?" I nodded. She led me not to an office, not to a private room, but toward the security desk behind the bar. "I think there's something you need to see," she said. She clicked through camera angles like she already knew exactly where to go. And then she played it. Claire entering the supply room with her boss an hour before I arrived. She looked nervous at first. He shut the door behind them. She didn't resist, didn't hesitate, didn't even pretend it was professional. He touched her waist the same way he did on the floor, but slower this time. She didn't step back. She didn't look conflicted. She just let it happen. I stared at the footage without blinking. HR didn't comment. She didn't need to. "We monitor all rooms for compliance," she murmured. She forgot that. My throat felt thick, but I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even angry. I felt like someone had unplugged me. "Do you want me to save the file?" she asked. "No," I said. "Just one favor." She tilted her head. I nodded toward the big screen on the main floor, the one they used for slideshows and trivia quizzes. "Play it," I said. "Not now. Wait until everyone's dancing." She didn't even argue. She just nodded once, slow, like she understood exactly what kind of man I'd become in that moment. And that's where I'll stop for now. Part 2 will tell you exactly what happened when the music got louder, the lights went lower, and the truth finally took the room by the throat. I went back onto the main floor like nothing had happened. The music had picked up, some kind of upbeat remix that made everyone bounce in place while holding plastic cups. Claire was nowhere near the entrance now. She was in the middle of a group of coworkers I'd never met, laughing too loudly, hair flipped over one shoulder like she was 22 again. And her boss hovered just close enough to make the whole thing look like a scene rehearsed months in advance. I didn't make a sound. I didn't even walk toward them. I took a seat near one of the tall cocktail tables and watched the room. Watched the way people paired off, drifted, drank, pretended to be more successful than they felt. It was almost peaceful in a way, like I was outside my own life looking through a window. I checked the time. 10 minutes, maybe 15, before the DJ usually dimmed the lights for the dance moment, as Claire liked to call it. She used to drag me onto the floor no matter how tired I was. Now she didn't even look in my direction. She didn't see me studying her or the way she leaned in too close to that man, the way she touched her own neck when he whispered something. She didn't see anything outside that small circle of attention. I didn't feel jealous. I didn't feel betrayed in the dramatic way people describe in movies. I felt a cold clarity, like I was watching a stranger who happened to wear my wife's face. A stranger who had already decided she didn't owe me the respect of being introduced as her husband. The DJ finally called for everyone to hit the dance floor. The lights went low, colored beams scattered across the walls, and people flooded toward the center. The room tightened, bodies moved together, laughter rose over the music. I saw HR Maya by the tech setup. She gave me one quick look, a silent question. Now? I nodded once. She tapped something on the console. The screen behind the dance floor flickered, turning from a slideshow of the year's office highlights to a dark, grainy frame of a hallway. At first no one noticed. Too much noise, too much motion. But then the audio clicked on. The room slowly reacted as if a cold wind had moved through it. I saw heads turning, conversations pausing. The screen brightened. There she was, Claire, walking into the supply room, her boss right behind her. No one danced now. The music continued for a few seconds until the DJ realized something was wrong and lowered the volume. People stopped mid-step. Someone gasped. Someone else muttered, "Is that?" Claire didn't understand at first. She was still laughing with her group, telling some story with big gestures. But the shift in the room reached her like a delayed echo. She turned. She saw the screen, and she froze. On the video, her boss placed his hand on her waist exactly the way he had an hour later on the main floor. But this time, everyone saw that she didn't step away. She didn't pretend it was innocent. She closed the door behind them. The footage cut right after that. HR wasn't stupid and I wasn't cruel. The point wasn't to show anything explicit. The point was to show the truth. A truth she thought lived in the dark. For a moment the room held its breath. Even the boss looked stunned, like someone had ripped off his mask. A woman near the bar whispered, "Oh my God." Another said, "She's married, right? Isn't that her husband?" I didn't move. I didn't speak. I didn't do anything except stand there as Claire's face changed colors. Shock, fear, denial, anger, and then something else entirely. Something like a plea. She pushed through the crowd toward me, eyes wide, mouth trembling. "Daniel, what is that? What did you?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her. I simply said, "You forgot the cameras." The room was dead silent. Not one person tried to intervene. Not one coworker defended her or joked about it being taken out of context. They all saw what they saw. They all knew what it meant. Her boss suddenly stepped forward like he wanted to calm the situation. But the HR manager blocked him with one arm, her expression stiff as stone. Claire reached for my arm, but I stepped back. I watched her hand hang in the air before she slowly pulled it against her chest. "It's not what it looks like," she whispered, her voice cracking. But the problem was that it looked exactly like what it was. There was no version of that recording she could spin into something noble. No explanation that fit the way she'd introduced me earlier. No excuse that erased the fact that she was smiling with the same man minutes after leaving that room with him. People began to move away from her, a quiet ripple of discomfort spreading through the room. I stood completely still. No anger, no yelling, just silence. A silence that made her choke on her words. And that's where I'll pause. In the next part, I'll tell you exactly how she tried to explain everything once the screen went dark and what finally broke the last piece of our marriage that night. The moment the screen went dark, the room didn't bounce back into music or chatter the way people usually do when something awkward happens. This wasn't awkward. It was catastrophic. The kind of moment that resets every conversation people will have on Monday morning. Claire stood in front of me like she didn't recognize her own legs, like the ground under her shoes had turned to water. Her breath came in these short, panicked bursts, and her fingers kept twitching toward me as if she could pull me back into the role she'd assigned me earlier, the harmless friend helping with boxes. "Daniel, please," she whispered, her voice barely audible under the low hum of the DJ's equipment and the buzz of people whispering behind their hands. "Can we talk outside?" I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just walked past her. She followed like a shadow, stumbling a bit in those heels she only wore for office events. Outside, the cold slapped the warmth off our faces. She hugged her arms around herself. I didn't offer my jacket. I leaned against a pillar near the parking lot, watching the steam rise from the street vents. There was nothing left for me to initiate. This was her mess to explain, and she knew it. "Please," she said again, voice cracking. "I swear it wasn't what you think." "Then tell me," I finally said, calm, flat. No heat, no mercy, no direction. She rushed into it like a drowning person grabbing for anything that floats. "He cornered me," she lied first. I could see it. The way her eyes darted. The way her shoulders curled inward. She was reaching for the easiest thread. I didn't know what to do. I just tried to keep it from getting worse. I was scared. I was trying to handle it without causing drama. "You closed the door behind him," I said. No shouting, just fact. Her lips parted. She blinked twice, fast. I didn't want people to see." "They saw tonight," I said. "They didn't see him cornering you." That hit her harder than anything else. Because she knew it was true. If she'd wanted help, she could have gone to HR. If she'd wanted distance, she could have stepped away. Instead, she walked willingly into a private room with a man who touched her the same way in front of everyone. She tried another angle. "Daniel, you've been distant. You barely talk anymore." I didn't know how to feel. I was confused. I thought maybe my marriage wasn't working and I didn't want to admit it. "So you slept with your boss because I was quiet?" I asked. She flinched. Hard. "I didn't sleep with him," she said too quickly, too sharply. "We just talked. It wasn't like that." "Then why hide me?" I asked. She opened her mouth and closed it again. That was the one question she couldn't dance around. Because when she introduced me as a friend, that wasn't confusion or fear. That was a choice. And she knew it. "You're my husband," she whispered, her eyes filling. "You know that." I didn't mean, "But you meant everything else," I said. Silence stretched between us like a rope tightening around her. She took a step closer. "Daniel, please, I can fix this. I'll talk to HR. I'll talk to him. No," I said. Just that. One word. She froze like I'd slapped the air between us. "What do you mean, no?" "I'm not repairing what you broke," I said. "Not tonight. Not ever." Her breathing hitched. She reached out again, her hand trembling, but she didn't touch me. "We've been together 15 years, she whispered. "You can't just give up. You gave up first." The truth landed heavier than any accusation. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. Not graceful ones. Not the clean, silent cry people show in movies. These were messy, panicked sobs that came from the fear of losing something she hadn't realized she'd already thrown away. "I made a mistake," she rasped. "One mistake." "The recording showed more than one," I said. "And the lie in front of your coworkers showed another. And the way you smiled at him showed another. And the way you didn't even look for me when I walked in." I shook my head. "That wasn't one mistake. That was a pattern you hoped I wouldn't notice." She covered her face with her hands like she could hide from the truth if she couldn't see me. "Please, please don't leave," she cried. "We can go to counseling. We can talk. Just don't end this here." Her boss stepped outside at that moment, probably thinking he could smooth things over. But when he saw Claire's face and the way I was standing, he turned right back around and went inside. Even he knew not to walk into that fire. "I'm going home," I said. She dropped her hands. "With me." No, her lips trembled. And for the first time that night she looked genuinely afraid. Not of losing her job. Not of the recording. But of losing the version of me she always counted on, the version she could take for granted. "I'll come by tomorrow," she said desperately. "We can talk then, after I've had time to explain." "There's nothing left to explain," I said. I turned and walked toward my truck. She called my name 3 times. Not loud enough to draw attention. Just loud enough to try and reach the man she used to know. I didn't look back. The silence in the cab hit me harder than the cold outside. Silence had followed me all year without me realizing why. Now I knew. It wasn't depression. It wasn't distance. It was her stepping away long before she ever walked into that supply room. When I got home, I didn't slam a door or pour a drink or break anything. I just sat at the kitchen table and breathed. The truth was painful, but it was clean, and it was finally mine. If you want more stories like this, real ones told straight, make sure you subscribe. It helps me keep sharing them.